POV. You're a puppy. This is not sponsored by Poppy, but it could be. Sponsor me, Poppy. Poppy, we are waiting.
Sponsor me, Poppy. That sounds.
And we're going back to the acronym thing.
Well, okay. Everyone, thanks so much for joining in and listening to another episode of 52 of My Closest Friends. I'm here with Rachel Gomes.
Number 52.
Number 52.
If you were to rank them.
You think so?
I'm not going to answer that question.
I think that should be my first question. I'm going to go back.
Where do you think you are?
Every single person I've already interviewed, where do you think you are on the list? Because that would be...
That'd be a good question.
It would be a very uncomfortable question.
I think it would be an uncomfortable question if you make it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to be realistic about it. I don't think I'm on the top half. We haven't known each other. I know that you have a lot
That's true.
Like closer
That's
childhood
fair.
friends. So it's weird if you make it weird. Just like everything else. Just like ASMR.
Yeah, don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird.
The other day, one of my friends, she like said something that was like super affirming to our friendship, and I like couldn't. It wasn't like I couldn't affirm her back. Like she's like one of my closest friends, like one of my closest buddies, and it just I think it was like the vernacular that she used. Like I couldn't just say it back to her, and so then it was like I had to like rationalize, almost like you're maybe too young for this. Let it be known, I just burped some Poppy.
Speak your truth.
Facebook used to have a top friends thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I was like, I can't, some of my friends, like, I literally just can't, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I have, like, my two, like, best friends from, like, life, but there are so many people that plug in all of these, like, random places around. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard.
It is.
Usually, every once in a while, this is so sad, but I'm all about vulnerability on this podcast.
Let's go.
I will go through and be like, all right, if I was getting married today, who's on that list? And I think that is really the true tell of like who's in your circle right now. Because I can tell you, like when I moved back to Evansville in 2017, first off, there are people who I know now that like I didn't even know then. Secondly, there are people that I knew then that I still know now. Like they're not getting invited to my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's that on that.
It is. Yeah. And I will name names if
go off. This is actually going to be the entirety of the podcast. This is the 52 closest blacklist members.
Oh my gosh.
Hannah's life.
Hannah's blacklisted friends. That would be a podcast.
That'd be crazy. That would get some listens.
It would, because people only want to know about the hate. They want to know about that tea.
Any publicity is good publicity.
It's true.
Get those blacklisted people listening to this. That's 52 closest blacklisted members that are tuning in.
And think about it. If I get all 52 of them listening, that's 52 active weekly listeners as these podcasts drop.
That's what I'm saying.
Man, it is going to be sponsored by Poppy, because they're going to be like, we need to get on this tea. All right. So here's the deal. This is where Rachel and I are. We are in our church basement, which is like so cozy. I didn't grow up in a church that had a cozy church basement. We like kind of ran out of our church basement. Whereas like this, like we have no big lights on, twinkle lights everywhere, lamps. We're like sitting in, well, you're sitting, that's my couch. Did you know that?
There's no way.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in your living room.
Well, that is my couch.
That is Sam's chair.
I feel like I'm sitting in Sam's living room.
And isn't it crazy that even in separate houses, we're all able to hear together?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I walked in and I saw you had the fluorescent lights on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a tough time for me. Thank goodness.
I'm not somebody who's got to have the big lights on, but I live in an apartment that has like very minimal lighting, very, very minimal. So like my big light is still not a big light. Like it's just really not. And walking into the basement with like my hands full, I was like, click, 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 turn these lights on.
Totally.
But then I was like, wait, like we're not about to have a serious conversation.
I can't be vulnerable with the big light on.
No.
To be fair.
You feel like you're in a doctor's office. You feel like you're at work.
That's why, you know, in the movies, therapists always have those, like, lamps.
Yeah.
Therapists know you can't have the big light on.
No. You got to have some level of protection.
Mm-hmm. Doctor's office, though, they turn on that light. They don't want to hear your problems.
No, not at all.
Unfortunately, I still hear a lot of people's problems. Fortunately, though. We'll get into that later.
We will.
But it'll be okay.
I don't know. Our friend AJ also just like really turned this into what it is today. Like
shout out AJ.
Shout out AJ. I should have a shout out for AJ for every single one of my podcasts.
I feel like you can look at a space and know that AJ's done something to it.
Absolutely.
And where I feel like there's got to be something terracotta colored
somewhere,
or like Southwestern inspired.
Yeah.
Where you can literally pick it out and be like, AJ was here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this basement is just really cool. And so we're chilling down here. Rachel brought me a strawberry lemon poppy. I specifically asked for not grape. And I will give a shout out to my best friend Randy's husband for all of the crap that I put him through with this grape soda drinking. And I still to this day, I don't want anything grape. So...
And I would let the listeners know that I am proudly drinking a grape poppy.
She is proudly.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to yuck somebody else's yum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my thing. I can't do it. But this is delicious. Maybe second favorite behind the cherry limeade. Cherry limeade is so good.
It's on top. Truly. Cherry limeade.
This is gonna help my fall festival stomach.
Amen. Did you know that you're the... I guess this makes me a sheeple because I was just like, poppy's good for you, blah, blah, blah. This sounds so bad. I didn't even realize why it was prebiotic.
Until I came over and had dinner that night. You came over,
you took a sip of it, and you're like, I could really taste the apple cider vinegar in this. And I was like, huh? Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, though. Because I can't be like the health girlies who can take a shot of apple cider vinegar. No, I wish.
I've tried it.
I wish I could. I tried. It's still vinegar, people.
I'll tell you. I've cut sugar. With like we've made that announcement, and so I know that this tastes better. Like genuinely tastes better to me because there's been other things that I've eaten that I'm like, this is delicious now because it doesn't have like all the nonsense in it. So it actually is so much like less vinegary tasting than what it used to be. Genuinely. Now, like, you can still tell that it's there. Mm-hmm. It's so much better now. And
that's actually a really good testament. Like, I wonder, having cut out all your sugar.
Yeah.
That still tastes good. I mean, that says something.
Yeah. So. I mean, there's cane sugar in it. Let the listeners know. Like, when I say getting rid of sugar, I'm basically just saying no desserts. I'm saying no desserts. Mm-hmm. But if you tell people I'm just not eating desserts, they're like, well, you're going to develop an eating habit. Like, no, baby, I already have terrible eating habits. I'm getting rid of the thing that causes me to like stay in those horrible eating habits. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thanks for the
power to you.
Thanks for the poppy.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
It was a good time. Okay. So I did tell you that I kind of wanted to like change some of like the content.
Yes.
I feel like most of it, like I want it to all say centralized around like people and like what is important to these people, but oh my gosh, so many poppy reactions.
The poppy burps.
I'm gonna get like a buzz like every time that it happens. Big zing ding ding ding. I don't like
what?
Like a
This is an ASMR reaction.
Like a buzzword, you know what I mean? Like
a
yeah, like a sound bite. Yes, a sound bite.
I think you should go all the way and just be like doon, 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 doon.
Make my own.
This is a burp break. Sponsored by Poppy. And just make each segment like 20 seconds long.
Like an elevator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. This podcast episode will be like 2 hours long because of all the...
My goodness.
Here you go. Anyway, making it different. Shaking things
Making
up.
it different. I have gone back and tried to find like remember every single like first conversation that I've had with people because I just think that like one, we have iPhones. I don't ever get rid of messages.
Gotta keep the receipts.
Gotta. Also, like I'm just like weirdly nostalgic to those type of things.
Absolutely.
Like I will throw away everything that my children bring home from school, but I'm keeping every text message that I get.
Well, text messages aren't sticky popsicle sticks.
That's true.
So you can keep those.
Very important text messages. But I didn't go back to the origination of our text messages because I couldn't even remember like the worlds of like Hannah and Rachel colliding, you know? I just remembered we probably were introduced at some time casually and then there was just a lot of yapping.
Yeah.
And then we got coffee.
Yes. At
And
River City.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like maybe kind of early on though.
That was. I really feel like it's just like we just started knowing each other.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to answer that question. I'm not someone who likes to prepare to like a fault of like rehearsal.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, until I answer a question, I don't know what my answer is going to be.
I feel that.
It comes out of my mouth and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I felt that way. So I had to make sure there was nothing alarming that was going to come up. Hopefully not.
I would have loved it.
But yeah, whenever I had that question of how did we meet, I'm like, I don't know. I only remember someone telling me that you were the funniest person that they knew. And I was
It's probably Ethan Price.
it was someone of that genre. The Ethan Price genre.
I know he has said that to multiple people before.
I can't remember who it was, but
They weren't wrong.
I had to meet you for myself and see. I'll say, we have a good time.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can banter. There's not many people I meet that can like truly like riff off with me.
Mm-mm.
And
I think when we went to coffee that day, we were like,
was so good.
What is happening? It went from just like, we both go to the same church and we've had a couple of conversations to, okay, I guess you're getting added to the 52 of my closest friends podcast.
I'm so sad. I'm a little sick right now, so you're not going to get my wheeze. My wheeze is not going to be memorialized, but just know I would be wheezing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, she gets me. She's making me laugh.
It was really great. I really just love like those like instant, they're not even like necessarily like just like deep connections, but just like this person, we just dare I say it, like there's just like a vibe there, you know, like you just pick it up and you just run with it and it's like supernatural.
Sparks fly, baby.
They do. I think okay, so like your wedding, what I wrote in your book was like genuine. Like I wrote like a whole page. I think people really think that I'm gonna like come out and be the funny one all the time. Like when it comes to stuff like that,
right?
I'm just like, no. Like every wedding that I go to, that I have been in, I'm like, what was the high? What was the low? What would I take from this? What would I be like? I don't want to do this again. And there was so much like curation done with your wedding.
Gosh, that is like the best word that you could use.
I'm serious.
That hit
like
me in my heart.
It from like the beginning to the end, there were never those just like awkward, nobody really knows what to do with themselves type of moments. Like I loved the whole thing. And I left that night and I was like there weren't like a ton of people there, and it's not because you all don't know a ton of people.
Right.
You just curated your guest list.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I was on that guest list. Like that was like really cool to me because I don't feel like we've just been like friends for a long time.
Right.
But I was also like, this makes sense, you know, like it makes sense.
Right.
And
cool.
if
if you weren't there, I'd be like, man, Hannah was missing.
Yeah.
You know, I only wish your ankle wasn't hurting you, so we could have gotten down and crazy on the dance floor.
Yeah, I was pretty fresh out of the meniscus tear. Still unsure what was happening there.
Sabotaged the wedding that we could have had
Saboteur.
today. But I will say, thank you for saying that, the curation aspect, because I do think every detail of my wedding was planned like intentionally to the guest experience. I don't know if I said that the best way, but like I was trying to craft it, what would be an enjoyable experience for someone who would be there, because I've been to weddings, I will go to weddings, and when I'm at those weddings and I'm not having the best time, I'm still happy because I know that they're happy. But I also know that I can't be in a room without, I'm an empath, so I feel things very deeply and I feel what everyone's feeling very deeply. But really, I can't.
We talked about this.
Yeah, I can't be in a room and I was looking around and I was like, what if everyone's miserable right now? But the moment of getting to sit there, eat food, and look out at like all of my friends, all of Rocky's friends and family, like genuinely having a good time was the best moment for me. Yeah. Was like, and I helped curate that experience for them. Yeah. And it felt like, even though we weren't sitting at the same table and eating it, I felt like you got to have a dinner that was like created by me for you. Yeah. So that's the best thing you could have said.
It was,
I love my wedding.
It really was great. I was super thankful to have been there. Yeah, it was, I don't like, for those of you that know Rachel, like, you know that she just kind of carries like a a cream colored vibe around with her.
Think rose-colored glasses, but boring.
No. Like, okay, if you were to take like a Greco like statue and like make it into like someone's like
Hannah's just flirting with me.
visible
This is just
personality.
This is all my buzzwords. It's just crazy.
She's just like the woman in white. You sent me that thing on Instagram the other day about like which Gilmore Girls vibe are you?
Oh my gosh! Don't bring
I'm
this up.
serious.
I'm already blushing.
It was.
And you're laying.
It was Emily. I'm gonna try to find it and tag
Emily
it to this.
Gilmore, the best Gilmore girl, the OG Gilmore girl.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not that. You know, when Richard's mom is in
Lorelai the first.
Lorelai the first.
Tricks.
Shiver down my spine. Whatever Emily Gilmore's maiden name is, we need to find that out.
Oh,
that's my girl right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know Emily's maiden name.
I wonder if it was ever dropped. They yap so much. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. But oh my gosh. Yes. Do you feel like you identify with Suki or not? Because I feel like that's who I connect you to because your dog's name.
Yeah, that's fair.
And because Melissa McCarthy is such a joy.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I think I'm probably a really good mix of Lorelai and Suki.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that their friendship, like, how Lorelai is like I want to start a business, and Suki's just like, okay, like let's do it. Like both of those personalities exist in me. I would marry a Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
Like
I could see you with a Jackson.
I can marry a Jackson, you know?
Sure.
I just
he's underrated. He's one of the underrated male
he's
characters
so
on that show.
like
yes.
Also, because they're the secondary characters, they don't get the attention that they deserve when they're flirting over the boxes of fruits and produce.
Which is so good. I mean, love Lorelai and Luke.
Yeah.
Love the good couples on that show. No one connected immediately and to the depth like Suki and Jackson did. They had it. They had that like, oh my gosh, it's the produce man, that's the chef. Like they had that whole thing going. But I wish there was a spinoff, just like one spinoff episode that was just like them.
I even feel like the day of their wedding. I mean, it is the show about the Gilmore Girls, and so the day of Suki and Jackson's wedding, you're not going to see Suki and Jackson. You're going to see what the Gilmore Girls are doing. But I'm like, why did we only get to see Suki in the morning freaking out about her wedding? You know, like, why didn't we get to see how excited Jackson would have been to see her, you know?
Exactly. There's lots of Gilmore Girl content I could have gone without, and we could have hopped over to Suki's storyline. Like when Rory dresses up in the 1950s costume.
Oh my gosh.
For Dean.
Yes.
Actually, cut the cameras. Let's go over to the Suki residence.
Find out what Suki's doing
Let's
tonight.
find out what Suki's doing. Oh, she's just stirring soup? I'd rather
with
watch
15 Band-Aids on her fingers and she's listening to a book on tape. Please.
Exactly. That's the only thing I'd like to watch.
Man.
Who is your top Gilmore Girls like who's your pairing that you were like, yes, this one's the best one?
Oh man. Oh my gosh. What is Babette's husband's name?
Oh my gosh, they're so good. What's his name?
Is it Maury?
Maury, yes.
Yes.
Maury.
We'll let you be late for dinner if that makes you feel better.
Okay. They are so good.
I yes, in joke, but also like that episode when Cinnamon dies, spoiler alert.
Oh my gosh.
And
there's like the entire town.
The entire town is in her little tiny house.
He's playing the piano?
Yes. Okay, but the scene that like gets me is when she's in the kitchen and she's washing dishes and Lorelai is in there trying to help her, and she was just like, you just don't understand, like I just never thought that I would find somebody like him. And she like looks at Lorelai and she's like, you like
with that
yeah, she's like, and did she say she's like, in those tits, like yes. And she was just like, no, like you can, like she just loves him, like the way they interact. And I know that it's not like, you know, it's not the Logan and Rory answer people are looking for, but like I just really, really love Babette and Maury.
I do feel like me and Rocky carry a certain Babette and Maury energy. Can you see it?
Yes.
Because she's just so outward facing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm tall and I love her.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Which
no,
I feel like is the caricature.
I do love that. I love that a lot. When I get sick and I get raspy, I can do a really, really good Babette impersonation.
I wish I could give you my voice right now so I could hear it.
One day I'll bring that around. No, I think they're really cute. What is your
Lane and is it Dave?
Yeah.
He memorizes like the entire
I read the entire Bible.
Yeah, he reads the entire Bible for her. And maybe it's like the sheltered homeschooler in me that was like, yes.
Yeah.
And someone who would go out on a limb for
the definition of if he wanted to, he would.
And she ends up marrying I don't even want to get into it. I'll say some things I regret.
So dirty.
They did Lane so dirty the entire time, and starting with making Rory her best friend. I said it.
You're not saying anything that none of us agree with. She was such a better friend. Paris was a better friend to Rory than Rory was to anybody else on that show.
As a Lane and as a Paris, Rory was my worst nightmare as a child.
The scene where her and Dean are kissing on the bench and Lane is sitting there.
Which one?
That's a good one.
Which one?
Maybe she wasn't a cheerleader yet. Her band uniform. She was in her band uniform.
Yes.
And they're sitting on the bench. I was just like, I've been Lane. Like, I have been Lane. And then they just really did her character dirty.
Do you think they had a hard time writing, like, dialogue for Dean and Rory? Is that why they had them making out constantly?
I don't know.
Because I feel like it wasn't that way for Rory and Jess. I feel like they talked to each other quite a bit.
They were both really smart. Yeah.
I don't get the Jess hype, but I understand.
I'm not a Jess hype man. I want to see the mature grown-up version of Jess and Rory together because I think that they're finally in the same place with one another. I think Logan is what got her there. Mm-hmm. She had to make her big mistakes with Logan. I mean, she made big mistakes with Dean too, but the big mistakes with Logan for her to realize this is who I am. I feel confident in who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited this turned into a Gilmore.
You didn't think you were going to get a Gilmore Girls
debrief.
Deep dive. This is just a conversation that me and you would have.
We would. If we had time on a Sunday morning, this is what we would be talking about after service.
Exactly.
We're both getting dragged out of the sanctuary.
I'm going to circle back.
Okay.
I know you said you would like us to ask you questions, and I would love to ask you questions. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Okay.
You specifically, not anyone else. I hate asking other people questions. Just kidding. But when you said the thing about writing in the guest book at my wedding, and like my guest book, it was made to write a whole page. I'm glad you took up that whole page, the space that you needed. And
she's not brief, y'all.
Nope. That was that book was for. But the idea of being like the comic relief friend and the funny friend, and people not expecting like the genuine and deeper side of you, I really resonate with that. Especially I feel like my friends, like my close friends, like now know me as both and can see me as both. But I think it's always initially a shock to them when I meet them for the first time, and then they see my online presence, which is more so reflected in like who I am inside under the surface level. And they're like shocked that I have thoughts that aren't just like banter and inside jokes. Do you feel like it's hard for you to like how does that feel for you? That's my experience, is like I feel like I make people laugh the first time I meet them, and then that's what they expect, like that personality. Do you feel like you resonate with that too, or is it what's your experience there? I actually just read something that I wrote about a year ago. I was just kind of emotionally dumping a bunch of stuff down and collecting my thoughts, and I have to be the funny person because for so much of my life I didn't really allow myself to have like deep conversations because I was just like everything's fun. Like my like inner 7, Enneagram 7, that I know people, we talk, I'm all over the place. I'm an Enneagram 7, but I also test as a 3. Like they are equal parts of me. And so like that 7 was my personality for so long. So like I was the fun one. But then it was like when I finally found like people who were just like, hey, like in the most loving way possible, they were like, hey, like what if we didn't crack a joke, and what if we talked about what's bothering you, or like what your life is about? It became this like, I really love this. Like I really love that there's this part of me that
I don't think that I've ever really seen before. And I love that there are people who don't just want me to crack jokes with them.
Right.
And so, yeah, as much as I'd love to make people laugh, like genuinely love to make people laugh, it creates a sense of like I do have to wear a mask a lot of times, because if I'm not in that like go happy lucky mood that people come to know, they're like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with you, like,
right.
And so you do mask, and then you learn like who you don't have to mask around, right, and who you do have to mask around. And I think I'm getting better at not masking, but there is just an expectation of like, oh, you're the funny one, tell me a joke, or like, you're not allowed to be in a bad mood, you're the funny one. Like, right. No, it's not my responsibility to bring levity to every situation. Like, I enjoy it. I think it's a gift. I don't think that it's just me, disguising my trauma with humor. Like, I think it really is a gift. But I do think that people do have a hard time of being like, oh, like, we can tell jokes and also be like existentialist. And I'm like, yeah, right. You sure can.
Yeah,
you sure
absolutely.
Can. One of my friends, she's like, I've known you for years and I still cannot believe you're an eldest daughter. She's like, because like you're funny. And I was like, that makes sense. Like, because I do display a whole lot of eldest daughter traits when it comes to just life and how I react to things. But like, eldest daughters are not typically funny. Like, they're the serious ones that draw a line. And I was just like, well, I grew up a little bit heavy, and I grew up with some traumatic experiences. And so what do? You develop humor to go along with it. And I feel like genuinely, since starting some version of therapy, like the humor hasn't left my life. I just don't rely on it quite as much. Like, I just kind of lean into whatever it is I need to be doing instead of trying to make light of it.
It's definitely like an art, not a science, of like balancing everything. Yeah. Because when you're funny, you're funny.
I remember the day, I think I shared this on another podcast. I remember the day that I was like, I can make people in this room laugh. And I just,
it's a superpower.
Yeah. People want it. Like, they want it. And, I think there's, aside from just like the growth that comes through life, like there really is just a maturing that happens where you realize like, I don't have to make a joke right now. And I recently was in a setting where maybe jokes every once in a while to just kind of like cut the tension would probably be appropriate. But this individual, like, everything that came out of their mouth was intended to like, to be funny or to like kind of like cut the room a little bit. Yeah. And I told the person I was with, I was like, I think that would have been me a couple of years ago. Like, not able to handle the uncomfortableness in the room. And I'm glad that I'm getting to now see like that like truly obnoxious side that comes from being the funny person, because you're just the funny person, so you're funny all the time. So it's nice to know there's been some growth there. And truly, I think the greatest reward is just knowing that like the people in your life aren't expecting, like the people who are genuinely in your life are not expecting you to have to just be funny all the time. They're just excited when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they get your humor more than most too. So now you've grown. You're in, when you're in a room that's talking about a serious topic like CPR. Not to crack a joke in those times, because it's life and death situations.
Have I told you my CPR? Yes. Okay, I was like, that's a really
imagine the specificity.
That's a really specific example.
No, you're going past that now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So
I don't think I wouldn't be able to do it. My gosh. What I was thinking, I don't know, as somebody who goes on first dates and you're in your head trying to think like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Like, that's always the thing that I'm most nervous about, is we're not going to have anything to talk about. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. At the end of the day, I probably had a decent time because I'm a decent time.
So put that on a t-shirt. When we were talking about the t-shirts that says like, I know Hannah Bedwell, the back of the shirt should say,
I'm a decent time.
I had a decent time because I'm a decent time.
Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that down right now.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I don't need to be concerned about like genuinely putting together a list of people to talk to. That was like one of my like precursors. Like, I have people that I'm close to, but like if I can't sit and like we can't carry on a conversation, first off, it's not going to be a successful podcast. Secondly, if we just don't have that type of relationship, like it's just that way. And I've had to be prepared for when those times come up, because there are people in my life that did not and have not yet to receive, Poppy. Like they haven't received like a, hey, like please fill out this form. And not because like I don't cherish them or like care for them, but like this is talking, you know, like we're not recording where you can see body language. Like we're just having to have a conversation. And I don't think that anybody would be like, that's not true. I know one person. They didn't get an invitation. This is on the blacklist.
Drop the name.
Drop
the name.
I can't drop the name. Of all the vulnerable, I can't drop the name of this person.
You're saying it enough that I feel like you're trying to convince yourself you can't.
No, I really have thought long and hard about this particular individual, and I know that when these episodes start dropping, I will get a text, and it will say, like, what is this? And can I be a part of it? And I'm just going to have to be the most honest with this person that I've ever been in my life. And it's kind of scary because it's going to either lead to an incredibly uncomfortable conversation, or you're just going to really, like, I'm just really, really going to hurt somebody's feelings. But this person has also really hurt my feelings a lot. And I've just, like, put up with it and put up with it and put up with it. So, with that being said, I was like, Rachel and I are going to have so much to talk about. But you know what we still haven't talked about? Your love of swimming.
Oh my gosh.
So every episode, I'm like, all right, what are people passionate about? And then one day, out of the blue, Rachel just, like, shares it, like, on her Instagram story. And about how much she loves swimming. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, it is the most random thing, because
I feel like that's like a Rachel deep track.
It is a
like
Rachel deep
track.
You
can know Rachel. You can name 5 of her songs, 5 of her albums, 5 anything of Rachel, and swimming could not come up.
I know.
And I feel like I have multiple close friends who didn't know I swam, who still might not know that I swim to this day. And you know what, Hannah? I have something to say about swimming.
Tell me.
And I'm going to cut the swimming conversation short because I will cry. I went to the YMCA. I was never told this, but the lockers are only to be used while you're there. I didn't realize that. I thought they were lockers. Sue me.
Did they throw your stuff away?
They threw my stuff away. They threw away my entire swim bag that had my scrubs in it. My fake scrubs.
How long ago was it?
It was 2 weeks.
Like 2 weeks ago from today?
Like, I hadn't been in 2 weeks. And I didn't know that. So it's totally my bad because I just didn't know. And, like, that's their policy. But did it still sting that they threw away my childhood goggles?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my favorite TYR pearlescent swim cap. Long hair swim cap. Yes.
Did you talk to the front desk?
I did. They had no empathy for me, and I said,
I'm sure I know who you talked to.
This is your job, so you know I respect it, but I'm still gonna walk out of here without a smile on my face, because I'm not a happy customer. I'm a sad customer. I'm a nostalgic customer, and he threw away my goggles and my swim cap. And one day in the near future, I will buy myself new swim gear, but I'm going to have to just press pause for a little bit.
Yeah, you got to sit on that for a minute.
Yeah, because, you know what? Hair holds memory, but the long hair swim cap that holds your hair holds your hair's memory.
Oof.
And in some worlds, that was considered a banger line.
In the swimming world?
In the swimming world,
I think
someone's crying.
Lily King would have been crying if she'd heard that.
King.
Katie Ledecky would be laying on the floor sobbing.
Lily King just dropped to her knees in Walmart parking lot.
The Wheeze! That was so funny. The Wheeze showed up. Good night.
But yeah, I do love swimming. I've been swimming since I was 3. I won my first blue ribbon when I was 3, which is insane. I was swimming against other people. Like, I was swimming in the 6 and under. They were swimming against probably a 6-year-old.
I believe it.
And I ate that up.
3-year-old is impressive.
I know. I was doing a lot of things at 3. I was in kindergarten by 3. I was swimming. You know, don't underestimate the power of a 3-year-old.
You're middle child, right?
Middle child of 5. Okay.
So we are like kind of from the same neck of the woods, right?
Yep. Ish.
You're from Illinois though, and I'm really sorry about that.
You're from Cape area, right?
The Cape area, yeah.
Dude, Illinois, I'm understanding why people say it sucks. Do you know if I had to go like switch over my driver's license from Indiana to Illinois, I'd have to take a written test?
Let me tell you right now.
It sucks.
Let me tell you right now. I am wholeheartedly sure that when I made the switch from Missouri to Indiana, I was supposed to take a written test, but my girl Deb at the DMV,
I better not have to.
I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a fluke. I don't know because it was after COVID. Because it was when I bought my car, and I was like, I just gotta make a switch. I have to make a switch. I have to actually become a legal citizen of Indiana. I didn't have to take a written test. And I was so certain that if you made the switch from out of state to in-state, that you had to take a test because that's what it says on the DMV website or the BMV, whatever it's called.
Really?
I didn't have to, though. And I don't know if it's... But surely if you had to, there would be like a prompt in their system you would not be able to go past without completing that, you know?
Well, I'll find out soon. I'm going to have to apply for my permanency residency here.
Yeah. Get your name switched over.
I don't know how I got on this. Illinois sucks. We're from the same neck of the woods.
Illinois is just not my favorite. We don't have time to break it down.
That's okay.
I grew up in the Rob Blagojevich era, and
free my man.
Nobody in the state is saying that. So I think it's interesting to me because also from what I know, the only high school in Southern Illinois that I knew anybody personally from, they had a bass fishing, like, high school team. I didn't know that was a thing.
That's actually crazy.
I'm from Southeast Missouri. We did not have those.
Did you guys have skeet shooting teams?
No. We did. Okay, my high school also did not have an FFA, which other high schools around us did, but my Chaffee was a little bit of like the ghetto redneck.
So no tractors to bring to school.
There were people who were like maybe like 4-wheelers. I think a guy my senior year maybe rode a horse, and his mom or dad came to like pick it up later. Like there were definitely people who like they worked on farms, like they lived that life. But Chaffee was for sure how do I put this Chaffee was maybe like what the Howell area of the West Side is. Like it's like West Side adjacent. Like it's still West Side, so people assume it's like kind of country, but like it's not really country, you know? And so what I know from that part of the country, like is it's just redneck, you know? Like you can identify one person that you knew or went to school with that wore camo religiously. Unironically, they may have never even shot a gun before, but like they were wearing it. And do you feel like you were homeschooled? You grew up in Southern Illinois. You don't necessarily look like the people who you grew up around as well. Like, do you feel
because I don't wear camo?
Because you don't wear camo, yes.
Yeah. I don't blend in.
You don't.
There's a dad joke for you.
That was a real good one.
Sorry, I'll let you get through your question.
No, it's fine. Do you feel like that there was ever like just a natural prejudice? You know, like the town that I grew up in. My dad's dad was the police chief at some point, not during my lifetime, but like it was a sundown town, like literally a sundown town. And I just think like that's insane to me to think about, you know? But then I think about, excuse me, like Southern Illinois, it's so much like Southeast Missouri. So like, do you feel like that was a thing for your family? Like, was that something that you were aware of or you weren't aware of, or maybe weren't then, but you look back now and you're like, oh, like, that was maybe a little different.
There's definitely, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that was a huge part of my experience in growing up, and maybe nothing so overt and scary that I would have had to deal with if I was public schooled or if I was more and not as sheltered as I was, which, like, I love my parents for doing that because it saved me from experiences that I don't even know could have existed. But I will say that my main takeaways and what hurts the most when I look back is I can go home now and I still feel like the only people that, like, some of the only people that, like, I know and love are my parents and our neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I went to a church my entire life, and, like, I think it was the constant need to have to prove myself and the constant need for me and my siblings to have, like, that Von Trapp family kid, like, very put together, very well behaved, very not shady, not looking like we're street urchins. Like, we don't just, to be respected, we didn't just have to be your average good person. We had to be the best of the best in order to be a step below the white kid next door.
Yeah.
Because that person was going to be respected for anything that they did, achievement-wise. In general, they were going to be respected because their last name was this, or their grandpa is this person, or their family has lived in this town for this long, or they're just conventionally attractive in this town. And to get on that same level, well, we'd never be on that same level.
But there was so much more work required for no reason.
Like, climbing uphill both ways. And, like, me and my siblings are all very talented, very smart individuals, very accomplished individuals. And we did that with or without the town. Like, it took a village of my parents being dedicated to our education and upbringing. But it hurts that they didn't have the support of the town the way so many other kids do. I will say my little brothers are kind of, like, poster children for the town, though. Like, they are, like, loved by the town, and they were public schooled 7th grade on, and David was the mascot. Jonathan,
oh my gosh,
was, like, they're both, like, the twins. David was also the prom king, so he kind of slayed the town. But yeah, I will say, like, yes, looking back, how I experienced racism in my heart of hearts, like, what I took away from it was having to work so much harder than everyone else. And I think that pervades into my daily life. Maybe it is why I am so, like, a wing 3, like, have to be an achiever, have to be the best of the best, not in a perfectionist way, but, like, everyone has to like me because that shows that they don't dislike me. Yeah. And if they dislike me, I'm going to assume that it's for this reason first and then for my personality. And that hurts, and I don't want to have to live with that. Because if someone doesn't want to be close to me, I'm always going to assume it's because it's the way I look. Yeah. And you just kind of, like, carry that with you. Obviously, there are people who will never make me feel that way, one of them being my husband, and who don't, because there's the opposite. I'm just rambling because I'm allowed to. Do it. There's the opposite where people are maybe a little bit more of a try hard, where it's just like, oh, I think it's so cool that you're from India because I had a mission trip to India, or I had a cousin who went to India, or I have a college friend who was from India, and this and this and this, and chai is so good, and I always love getting chai, and I loved seeing, like, the culture and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't Indian either. Like, I grew up in Podunk Town, and then I got out, and
moved to a bigger Podunk Town.
I moved to a bigger Podunk Town because that's the American dream. And then, you know, I'm out here watching Gilmore Girls, drinking Poppy, and dressing in all white after Labor Day.
As you should. As I should.
Like, besides parts of my parents' upbringing of us, that was very much, like, Indian, like, traditional family-centered based. I I know like one thing that I can say in Hindi, and it means, "Are you crazy?" Pagli kya?
I love that.
Are you mad or what? And of course, that's like the only phrase that I know because it's sassy, and that's the only reason I know it. But like, I drink chai that other people make.
Mm-hmm.
I love my little microwave packets of chai. I do not cook curry. Do not ask me to. Do not ask me for my recipes. You could have just stopped
it. I don't cook. Like, you could have left curry off.
Okay, you know what, Hannah? Yeah, well, when I get into my chef era this winter, you're not invited over. So you can come and eat Rocky's better grilled meals next summer, but I won't subject you to my awful cooking. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to cook because I married a cook. So
she did.
That's But yeah, I don't have a curry recipe for you. I don't have a chai recipe for you. I am sorry to the people who thought they were coming to an Indian wedding. So many people were like, I'm so excited to finally go to an Indian wedding. I'm like, girl, I haven't been to one.
It's not.
It's not going to be. You're still not going to have gone to one. You can attest to the fact it was not an Indian wedding.
Did not at any point expect there to be like any of it, because like that's just not who you are. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
not who I am.
I would never be like, oh, I have an Indian friend.
Right.
Like, that's not a thing.
Exactly.
Like,
I think that's what gets me is when people say like, oh, I had a college friend who was from India. I have this Indian friend. And it's like, there are people I know who are super proud of their heritage, who are super proud of their Indian heritage or whatever heritage they have. But I don't think they want that to be the adjective that describes them before they're your friend.
Yep.
Like
there are so many other things that I would pick.
Yes.
Before I would be like, oh, my Indian friend Rachel.
Yes.
Like, that's not happening.
And it's just whoever that person is that you're describing, that you're thinking of, they want to be seen as your friend first. And then everything else. Mm. I mean, I think it's hard for people because they try to overcorrect. But that also leaves you feeling like, okay, you see me as something different and you're trying to relate to me, which means that there's this distance between us that you're trying to cross. Yeah. But there's not a distance between us, not any more than there would be between anyone else. Yeah. I think it's hard for people to just like come outside of their skin and realize that. But yeah, I don't know. I could talk for a long time on that, but I think I try to, as a kid, I tried to make lots of jokes, like going back to the humor thing, tried to make lots of jokes before anyone else could, kind of thing. And now that's something else I'm trying to unlearn, is like stopping making those jokes, because that's just me being hyper aware where I don't even need to be. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but I feel like, I mean, I have said this and it comes out as funny, but it's genuine. Like, and I said it earlier, like the more therapy that I do, I feel like the less jokes that I tell. Mm-hmm. I've also noticed that there is a trend, and a lot of jokes are self-deprecating. Mm-hmm. Like, because they are, because it's, if you can poke fun at yourself, then no one else can poke fun at me first.
Exactly.
And it very much is, I won't call it a trauma response, because like that's not fair to other traumatic areas of my life, but it is just for sure a coping mechanism. Yeah. And I think like what you said, like somebody using that to like describe you is a way of them thinking that they're bonding with you, when actually like you couldn't be farther from the truth.
That being said, I was a popular kid.
Oh, no doubts about that.
Which, I mean, I don't even feel like I have to go into that.
No, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. I had to teach, this is a fun fact about me, I had to teach the Res Life staff at UE how to use their fax machine. No one in the staff knew how to use a fax machine. Multiple ages here, working here, because in my freshman year of college, I had to have people fax me a sheet so that I could fill it out and go home and attend prom, because I was still being asked to prom as a freshman in college. I was 16 in college. I wasn't being a predator, but just had to put that out there. I'm not.
Well, you started kindergarten at 3, so the math is mathing.
The math is mathing. For the people who didn't want to do the math, there you go. Did it for you.
Are you 22?
I am 24.
Oh my gosh.
As of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense, because you have your doctorate now at 24.
Yes, ma'am.
That's so impressive.
Actually had my doctorate at 22.
That's That's right. Your residency. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I know.
I graduated with a bachelor's at 21.
That's young.
I'm a June baby though.
Oh, okay. You always have to be a little bit older.
Yeah. It obviously is different than like a homeschool setting. Homeschool, I don't think would have been the vibe for my family by any means. But I'm genuinely so thankful that I was the oldest child, which means my parents were like, she's mature enough to move into like the class that's going in, as opposed to keeping me back. Because if she'd have kept me back a year, I just can't even imagine who I would be. Mm-hmm. Like, I had good friends in the class underneath me, but like, it just, my entire life would be different. Like my best friend, who like I watch her Instagram stories of her children, and I like am like in tears because of how much I love them. Like, that would not exist had I not been moved up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, what a choice that was made, like, by my parents, you know?
I would have such a different college experience. I would not have been married to Rocky. He would have been.
Yeah.
I would have not met one of my best friends, Abby, in college. Yeah. I would have not been at this church, probably.
Yeah.
Like, me starting where I started and getting ahead of the curve for when COVID hit and going into healthcare.
Yeah.
And healthcare grad school. All of that, I can't even, like, you know, it all just starts coming together. It's like, I have to be at this place at this time for my life to look this way now. Yeah.
I've thought about that a lot lately, of like, there are some days you're just like, why does life look like this? Mm-hmm. You know, like, more or less, like, how did I get here? What was in place? But then I think about moments like that. I'm like, I cannot imagine having gone through my life as anybody else with my best friend other than Randy. You know, like, I cannot imagine getting to college and meeting my big life best friend with the same name. Like, that would not have happened had I been a year behind, you know? Like,
absolutely.
And just all of like the little things that you're like, I wouldn't want it any other way. You know, it's like, it really like super like humbling, and like very much of like a genuine thankfulness that like the Lord has like brought me and given me the life that he has, because like I would have had other friends. I would have still gone to college. Like, you would have still continued to do all the things that you were doing.
Yes.
It would just be different. And, yeah, that's super weird. Were you homeschooled all the way through?
I was.
Until it was time to, okay.
All the way through my doctorate. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I have a family, there that I'm good friends with, and I went to college with 2 of them, and they were all homeschooled, all 6 of them.
Is this a super smart kids family? The ones with the super smart kids?
Sure.
In Colorado?
No.
You know those kids that they send you mail? Did they send you mail? Who's your couple friend that has the kids who are really smart?
I mean, I'm probably talking about Rain and Jason, because I think their kids are super smart.
They're
kids.
They not are the same. Well,
they are homeschooled this year. Yeah.
Okay. I thought
that was a good tag.
Okay.
Yeah. So they just started homeschooling. Her kids are super smart. Homeschooling works super well for them. But no, these are like adult friends of mine.
Oh,
like all
I
6
gotcha.
of them,
I'm tracking.
And like their siblings were all homeschooled, and we were in college, and I was like, "Is there a college for homeschool?" Like, so genuine. And her response was, "Yeah, it's Harvard." I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Which, like, I was like so sincere. I was like, they have homeschool programs. Like, why don't they have secondary education homeschool programs?
You know what's so cathartic is that a minority in Harvard looks like the majority in my hometown.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, if someone pulled up in a tractor with their camo outfit to Harvard, they'd be like, and we respect you, and we see you, and we see your culture.
Respectfully.
But respectfully, not the spiteful
GTFO, please.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why I kind of think to go back to Gilmore Girls. I think it's practical that where Rory lived, Harvard would have been on her mind.
Yeah.
But the whole walk around campus, there's only white people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't interact with white people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure
it's Gilmore Girls.
It's Gilmore Girls, and after, spoiler alert, she goes to Yale, and they have that.
Why did you drop out of Yale?
It's an iconic line.
Sorry. Also, spoiler alert. She drops
out of Yale. Also, spoiler alert. She wrecks a yacht. She wrecks a yacht.
She wrecks a yacht.
Wrecks a yacht. The guy who plays Aaron Burr in Hamilton,
Leslie Odom Jr.
Thank you. I was falling on his name.
Love him.
Was on the opposite debate team at Harvard. He's the only person of color other than Lane Kim and her mom.
Yes.
And Michelle.
Yes. You want to hear a fun fact about Rocky?
Yes.
He will tell you this, his proudest moment of his entire life, it's not marrying me.
Wow.
It's winning state in Scholar Bowl in the 8th grade. And he was on it. The rest of his team obviously was Asian, of different Asian descents. And he was on it as the only white guy because they needed someone for pop culture and sports.
They picked the right guy.
They picked the right guy.
Listen, when I asked him about that double teamed comment the other night, I thought he was going to fly out of his chair. I was so happy.
Nothing makes that man happier than talking about a
Disney Channel original
decom
movie.
He loves a decom.
Man. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a night. I'm going to make soup. You're going to make soup. Somebody else.
Oh, am I cooking now?
You can cook.
Am I cooking now?
Make a curry soup. Shock us all. I think we should have a decom night.
Dude, yes.
That would be so fun.
We need a presentation night where it's just Rocky ranking all of his decoms.
Oh, I want to do a presentation. I need a group of friends to do a presentation night with.
You could have just stopped at, I need a group of friends.
We all know. My friend straight up called me out Sunday. We were at the Lincolnshire Front Porch Fest.
Slay.
And
shout out Lincolnshire.
I stopped in at her parents' house to get a little bevy to just hang out for a minute. And she was just like, so who are you here with? And I said, oh, I'm just like out by myself. And she goes, no. And I was like, yeah, I'm just kidding. I said, I'm here with a bunch of different people. And she's like, you're never by yourself. I don't know why you thought that you were going to be able to pull that over. I am.
It's so funny because it's so true of you.
Yeah.
When I see you at events, I'm always like, Hannah's like the Lone Ranger out here. I always see you like by yourself, like hunting in a crowd, but you also know everyone, and everyone who came there is because if you told them to. So it's kind of like when you're at your own party, you're not with anyone. But everyone's with you.
That is such a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
My gosh.
That's Evansville. When you walk out, you're like,
I'm here by myself,
I'm home, baby.
But all of you are here with me.
All of you are here with me, so I don't need to come up and chit chat with you.
Okay,
you come chit chat with me. I'm the host. But yeah, that's how I feel seeing you at any event. I'm like, here she is, the guest of the night, the guest of honor.
That is, I don't know.
Miss Evansville.
I don't know what it's called when someone else is narcissistic for you, but I feel like that's exactly what just happened.
That's okay. You said something referring to me as some Greco.
Oh yeah, the Greco goddess statue.
So I can't really. I'm just trying to like climb my way up to that.
It's fair. It's fair. So the half marathon was on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Rocky said that was the highlight of his week.
It was so fun.
We recapped.
Like I just really enjoy it. Like you're not really like standing talking to somebody the whole time because like you are kind of like working, but it's like I don't know. You're all like doing it together and you're like getting to cheer people on. But that mile-ish, actually we didn't even really cover a full mile this year. They really kind of cut everybody's blocks down. There were 15 people there and I brought 11 of them. And genuinely, like, this because I just, like, messaged people from Sojourn who I knew had either done it before or were like, yeah, I would totally be down for this. And my friend who was, like, organizing this group together, she was just like, literally, like, I wouldn't have had this covered without you. And I don't mean that in, like, oh, like, I literally just texted people. And they were like, yeah, sure. Like, it wasn't like I was out here campaigning, trying to bring all these people in. I think it's just, like, and I've said this, I almost want to make it like professional. Like, I just want to use favors to help other people, you know, like I want to be able to hang out with people and do cool things and provide a service.
And everyone wants to volunteer. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do it by themselves typically is the problem. So it is the power of just asking people.
Yes.
Like really, truly. Because everyone wants to. They just need someone to tell
them. I went to a restaurant. Man, I don't remember where it was now. I can't think. But on their webpage, because like, what are you doing before you go in a restaurant? You're going to look at their website. Like,
Yeah.
I need to know the menu. I need to know the parking situation. They had it outlined. They had the parking situation outlined. They had what to expect before you order. They had all of it. I'm like, tell me a restaurant is owned by a millennial without telling me a restaurant is owned by a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, this takes away all the social anxiety that I carry with me. Like, I'm super outgoing. Everybody knows that. But I carry, like, a ton of social anxiety. Stuff that, like, I didn't even realize was a social anxiety until somebody on the internet told me that it was. If you tell me where I need to park when I get somewhere and what the ordering process is and where to go when I walk in the door, I'm going to eat at your restaurant for the rest of my life. It's really a shame that I cannot give them a shout out, which tells me it probably wasn't a local place. I was just bebopping around and found it. But I feel that way almost in like just how I like invite people to do things. It's like, listen, here's the situation. I'm going to info dump a whole lot on you that's going to seem overwhelming. But then when you sit with it, you're going to be like, I don't have any questions because you have given me everything I need to know to be able to give me a peace of mind.
You take away the barriers to someone wanting to like go out there and do it.
Were you there Sunday morning at church when I made the announcement about the Lincolnshire?
I was not. I was working.
I thought you were working this weekend. I told them that the Lincolnshire Front Porch Festival, which for those of you listening, Evansville has this. It's a festival. It's several years old now. It's this neighborhood and they have live music. There's a couple of neighborhoods in town that actually do it, but I feel like this one is like maybe the biggest, or at least the most well known in the circles that I'm in. But it also usually is right before the fall festival. Like it's like on the Sunday of the family day of the fall festival. So I sold it as like, here's the deal. You like live music, you like food from a food truck, you like collective gatherings with people, but you don't want to have to go to the fall festival. This is for you. And they were like, that's it. Like that sold it.
I will say, I know that impacted people because you didn't ask me, do you know what I said? You asked me if I was there.
Oh.
I was not there, but I know what you said because it impacted people and they came and they told me.
I should
have
have
Do you know
asked.
how Hannah sold that? Listen to this. I think multiple people told me that.
I'm glad it's working.
So, yes, you should be proud of that pitch because you bait and switch them.
I'm happy. There were several sojourners there.
Mm-hmm. It was
a good time. I spent 4 hours there on Sunday.
Dude, that's awesome.
I was so tired.
Have you ever been to Front Porch Fest, Haney's Corner?
I always miss it. I don't know what it is.
Huge. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Do you go to Haney's Corner Brewery?
I do.
Like the Benties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they organize it. They're great people. Rocky knows.
How do you know Sam?
So Rocky and Jeremy were in Fiji together.
They were
not
just
like at the same time.
in Fiji together.
Like,
what does that mean?
So Fiji, the fraternity on campus.
I thought you meant the place. Like
Yeah, they were on vacation, partying it up. They're like, we need to reconnect. No, Jeremy and Rocky know each other from being in the same fraternity, and they're great people.
Yeah,
and I think Sam heads up a lot of that. I only know that because she let me ride in the golf cart one time, like the front porch fest golf cart. She was like, "You want to ride?" I was like, "Heck yeah!"
Yes, I do. Please.
I felt like the mayor. It's the way we've gotten to none of the questions yet.
But honestly, I think it's perfect. Like, I think I just don't want to keep having the same conversation.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. We definitely, I hope this conversation so far has been different.
Yeah, it has. I do, however, I threw out some, I had some like wild card questions.
Yeah. I'm in it. I told Rocky, don't expect me home tonight.
All night. This is going to be one of those like 52 of my closest friends, part A, B, C, D, E, Rachel.
The Rachel Chronicles.
I actually I want to do that. Like I want it to be one of those things where like maybe we drop and however I'm doing it is just how people are getting labeled. So like going all the way back to the beginning where we were talking about like labeling people of like where on the list that they would fall in that 1 through 52. Like whoever's my first episode drop, like it's just being put as number 1. Yeah. But like that's not actually reflecting of number 1. Yeah. So like if you're number 27, the next time around you would still be number 27, but it would be like Rachel Revisited or Rachel Again or Rachel 2.0, things like that. So like even parts of this conversation that could be like cut out and like used for prior stuff or other stuff. I'm excited. But I don't know. I feel like I could probably put a playlist together of music, and I think it would like scratch an earworm for you. Like I think you would be pretty excited about it.
Like just music?
Yeah, but I want to know, like, if you were just picking a playlist yourself, and I understand music's fluid. I have a different music taste for every day of the week. But like, what do you feel like is your like majority of your listening? What kind of music are you listening to?
Audiobooks.
That's fair.
I, as a joke but also serious, I feel like I listen to audiobooks so often that my Spotify Wrapped is gonna be so bad.
Like you listen to one artist one time and it becomes your top 5.
Well, yes, because I was playing a Sabrina Carpenter song as a joke to my friends the other day, and now it's in my top 5 listened songs.
Yep, it'll do
and
that.
I played 20 seconds of it. But no, I listen to like what I would consider like faith-centric, Christ-centric music on the way to work, just because what I do is hard most days.
Yeah.
And I need to be put in, first of all, I need to be put in a posture of prayer early in the morning so that I have that habit with me. Secondly, I need what's running through my head, because I get songs in my head all the time. I need what's going through my head to be life-giving, not only to me, but to Christ.
Yeah.
And so that is what's playing in my car when I'm driving to work. That's not an audiobook. On the way home, I listen to an audiobook just to decompress, and to get my evening started. I will say, I'm like you. I have a different playlist for every time, like what if I'm feeling something different. This morning, my neighbor was playing Ella Fitzgerald.
I saw that.
And I mean, tell that to my 12-year-old self. Oh, I'm waking up. I'm doing my morning routine. What's that I hear?
I want a
let me crank the window.
Kind of love.
And I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing the songbirds.
My gosh.
It was literally like a dream. But anyway, I listened to oldies growing up. Like that was like, as soon as I got access to Spotify, I made myself an oldies playlist. That's like my favorite thing to get me into a good mood, to like make me feel better about myself and better about my day, romanticize my day, is oldies. Like that's always going to get you there.
What is oldies to you?
So oldies to me is Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald,
Okay.
Tony Bennett, the people that, you know, you hear and you're like, oh, I feel in my heart calm.
The crooners, the
crooners,
warm, yeah.
yes. Then I also love the Beatles. I listened to a ton of the Beatles growing up. I listened to Aerosmith. I listened to like that era of like classic rock oldies too. So I would classify both of those oldies, but like in a bigger pot. But any of those, like any of the classic rock or the crooners, any of that puts me in a good mood. Musical theater. I was a huge musical theater guy growing up. Still am. Still will always be. So if I need to, you know, belt it out, I'll play some Wicked, I'll play some Phantom of the Opera, I'll play some Les Mis, and I'll just belt it out. But I also love, like I went through a Lumineers phase in college like everyone does. It's a rite of passage.
Why did we all have that together?
You had to go through the Lumineers phase. So I loved folk music in college. I would say meeting Rocky, he was really into R&B. He still is. He's just like an R&B guy. I have no clue why. But it's got
the basketball world he lives in.
Exactly.
My goodness.
And he got me more into like I really like funk-y, jazz-y, funk-y music. Sammy Ray and the Friends. I don't know if you've heard.
Do I know Sammy Ray and the Friends?
Yes. Talk It Up by Sammy Ray is my anthem of the year.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. You said you had Spotify.
Are we doing a blend?
We're gonna do a blend.
Yes.
Because do you know who Couch is? Have you heard Couch? Yeah. I think maybe my artist discovery of the year, like my band discovery of the year.
I've only heard 1 or 2 songs by them. But yeah, Sammy Ray, Couch.
Yes.
I can't wait for this blend to come out. Actually.
Michael Leah, but it's a female. It's spelled Michal Leah. She sings Frank Sinatra's Something Stupid.
Maybe I've heard it and didn't know.
We're gonna put it. When we get done.
Oh,
we're wrapping this up. We're making a joint playlist real quick,
and we will put the link
Oh, the link will be in the bio. Absolutely. It's going to be shared with
so you're welcome.
drops.
You're welcome for that. No, yes. I love, like, you know how Sammy Ray has that? She has that almost crooner-esque.
Croon pop is what it feels
pop,
like to
yes.
me.
It's just such a clean sounding tone, which I think scratches my musical theater brain, scratches my crooner brain, but also the words are very, like, relatable.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's fun too.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I grew up listening to, like, the crooners, but, like, once I discovered them, I was like, this is great. They all have a strong bass line to it. So, believe it or not, Will Barnes wrote the theme song, like my track song that will be played.
I cannot
moving in
wait.
and moving out. And I played a Lake Street Dive song for him, and I was like, I need you to take the bass line essence of this and turn it into a song for me.
Yes.
Because I'm just like,
which song? Am I allowed to know?
Hypotheticals, and I gave him 2. I had him listen to Hypotheticals.
That is one band that multiple people have told me I would like.
Oh.
Could never get into them.
Really?
Yeah. I'll give it another shot because of this conversation.
I have them. They are probably one of my most played vinyl on my beautiful record player that I have.
One of the best record players I've ever seen. Shout out AJ.
Shout out AJ.
It's so beautiful.
You should just come over. We will just put.
Nah, you could stop there. I'm there, baby. Name the time and the date.
Here's the thing that I've recently come to love. I don't have a TV in my apartment.
So when did that happen? Because I seem to recall.
You did. We watched the movie in my house.
Yeah, you keep saying that. I kept hearing that on the grapevine, and I was like, maybe the Fantastic Mr. Fox on TV was the friends we made along the way at Hannah's house.
It was.
Like, I was like,
it wasn't actually
maybe
there.
I'm going crazy.
Sam just reenacted the whole movie for us.
She's up there doing the whole thing.
All the characters.
And I would believe it. The first time I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox, I watched it on her iPhone. So
I heard that. She said you laid in the floor. I said, we won't be doing that.
Yeah.
It was like in March. My TV went out in March, and I tried everything in the book. I called the manufacturer. Like, I did everything. And
I feel like I never even hear about TVs breaking these days.
No, but they have like a 5-year shelf life. Most people just upgrade them. And I don't even, there's no way. First off, I was thinking about when I bought it, and I was like, it's been 5 years. And the guy that I talked to said, yeah, he said, you got every bit. And it's because the smart TVs, like, they have so much happening. It's like the screen goes out on them.
I always, and I stand by this, the more that something can do that's not its base function, the easier it's going to break.
Oh, for sure.
I want a car that's upgraded in the safety mechanisms.
But still has power windows.
Yes.
Or the manual windows.
The manual windows still has, or doesn't have a TV in it.
Mm-hmm.
Still has an aux, or I have to connect my own Bluetooth. Like, I don't want Apple's TV. I want all the energy in the car to go towards keeping me safe and making the car go. That's it. But they don't have that anymore. I don't think.
No. And I feel like they used to. Like,
we are off.
Really off. It's fine. I love it.
But the more that I yap with you, the less I see this mic.
That's great.
You know, which is the magic of it.
Some people have seen the mic, and it's been really hard. And so
it's so hard to get past it.
It increases. I'm thankful. Like, I don't see it anymore. Like, there are times now where I have to be aware of it. I also am just a professional yapper, and so like it is.
I'm getting there. I'm a green belt. Yapping.
Is that after the yellow belt?
I don't see color, so.
She's actually.
You should title this 27, the funniest episode.
So I know that I just told you I'm going to completely just bypass what I was going to say because it was probably nonsense. As I'm telling you how I'm going to label these episodes, I'm like, no, I actually think it would be funny if I just like picked random numbers for people. Like, I know what number I'm picking for Randy. Like, it's just going to have to be. So like, even if Randy's the first episode that I drop, it won't be because it'll be too far out for us to record. Like, by this point, by you people, like by listeners listening, these episodes have now dropped. And the numbers are going to be what they're going to be. So, like, I think it'll be really funny to go back and kind of listen to this. But I think I should just assign numbers. Yeah. Like,
it's your podcast, girl.
It's my pod. I can literally do whatever I want.
This is your party. Remember that.
And it's a decent time.
And the people talk to you. You don't have to go talk to the people.
I know.
Keep that in mind.
I'm really enjoying it. Every time I sit and do one of these, I'm like, this is so cool. This is so cool.
It's so fun. The whole day knowing that I had, because sometimes I will get like stressed if I know I'm getting coffee with someone. First of all, because I don't drink coffee, and I feel like they're gonna judge me for that off the bat, because I'm a tea girl and I'm not a caffeine girl. But also just like the pressure of like, we're gonna sit here for like an hour and we have to find just the right amount to talk about, and then we leave. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and it's the idea that we were gonna come here, and I knew that the point was to have an intentional conversation, and intentional, that word gets thrown around so much in the church, but like truly the fact that I knew that I could come here with someone who has my humor, who I can genuinely have a good time with, but then we can at the same time slip into being deeper and it doesn't ever feel forced. That's my dream evening, so I mean, I wish that we treated more conversations like they were a mic in front of you in the best way. That it's just like, we're here to talk, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna use our words in a directional way. Like
you know how people, a lot of times, if you put them in a group to have a conversation and you take the table out of the middle, people are more likely to share because they feel like they're not hiding behind something. I feel like it's an opposite with a microphone. Like, you're not hiding behind something. You're now hiding from something. And I'm like, just let it go.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
You really do. You have to have almost like a good lead up conversation to where like you're in the middle of talking and then just go straight into it, because it becomes a little difficult. So
absolutely.
I'm glad that that's going well for you. I'm really excited about this joint music.
Yes, me too. Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Music taste.
I feel like I could, like, I feel a little justified in knowing that I could have put a music playlist together for you.
You could have.
And it would have been good.
And people think that they can for me, but you actually could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really impressive.
Music to me has become like so, this is going to sound kind of like so important to me. Like, what I'm listening to in my car may change my entire mood by the time I get where I'm going, or like what I'm working on at my desk.
Because do you have a specific like pump up playlist? Like what do you listen to on the way to work and on the way home? What's your commute jam?
I like talk on the phone on my way home.
Oh.
Because I'm a verbal processor, so like I just kind of like decompress.
Yeah.
So I usually call Hannah.
Okay. That's sweet.
Yeah. I usually call Hannah on my way home. If she doesn't answer, I may like play phone a friend with somebody else. So usually I don't listen to music on the way home, or I don't listen to anything. Like I just kind of chill. On the way to work, it's really hit or miss. Sometimes in the morning I get up and there's a song in my head and I tell Alexa to play it, and then I just like kind of keep going from there. It's really different. Honestly, I listened to a like Lake Street Dive, Wilder Woods couch blend today at work. But then when I got home, I was laying horizontal because I just needed a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
I watched a TikTok that had the, I don't need this menu. No,
I don't.
So then I had to listen to Chris Young on the way here. So I listened to 2 of his songs back to back. I was like, it's all over the place. My Spotify probably gets a little stressed out with its algorithms.
It's trying. It's got like daily mix 1 through 100.
Yeah, the daily mixes, you just keep swiping and they're all there. They're like, and just in case you're feeling this today, like I'm really impressed when they're able to put my day list together.
Ooh,
I'm like,
that day list is so good.
It is.
I love those things.
It is. I would say, to answer my mood changing music. Now, this all may change after Sean P. Diddy Combs and all of that hits the shan. I will listen to music from like 2005 to 2009. I have a playlist. It's called, actually I found it on Spotify. It's called Grinding and Sweating in a High School Cafeteria.
Wow. And I know Rocky knows every single word to those songs.
I love that.
He was a boy of the 2000s.
Man. How old is he?
He's about to turn 28 next week.
Yeah.
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 He's in that sweet spot.
Man.
He was not grinding. He was standing in a corner and sweating and looking up the songs on Genius Lyrics.
I was not grinding. I was there with like all my girlfriends, like, what do we,
Right.
No, we were just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that. Dun, 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 dun. You came running from the bathroom. That is a cultural thing. I would say that's probably like a pretty steady rotation of what I listen to.
That's so good. It gets you in the right mood.
It does. It just. I think it genuinely does, like, takes you back to a time when life was less stressful, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And then you listen to your lyrics, and you're like, why was I listening to this at 15? Why was I listening to this at 13?
It was just what it was.
It was. And let me tell you, T-Pain still has my heart.
As he should.
As he should. Okay, my last question for you. I know. I feel like we covered so much. Like, things that, like, I wasn't even expecting to. But also, I knew that putting this list together was, like, almost going to feel, like, unnecessary. Like, we could have just got up here and just, like...
We could have yapped.
We could have just yapped.
We could have woken up, come here, yapped.
Gotten
out, yapped some more.
This is going to be a hard episode to edit.
Yap City. Well, as soon as you take out the wheezes, the burps, and the coughs, I think you'll only have about
45 minutes.
20 tops.
You know, you might be right. Okay, so I know that this is something that I did not know about until Sojourn, and it's a very, like, John Mark Comer. I think it, like, quite literally is a John Mark Comer, like, way of it. But what is what is your favorite rhythm of life that you have?
This is a good question. I really have been loving, I mean, I don't know if I told you this, but I finally broke down and listened to the audiobook Practicing the Way. And I listened to it in one sitting, and I've never done an audiobook in one sitting before. My house was sparkling clean thanks to John Mark Comer.
Yeah.
And then I went out and bought the physical copy, and that's another thing I don't do is buy physical copies of books because I'm a big library girl.
Yeah.
But Practicing the Way has been incredible to just put words to actions in such a practical way. And I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about how John Mark does not write anything novel. He just synthesizes ancient to modern practices and knowledge and just puts it together so amazingly in such an accessible way. And that's led me to, I have a book coming in the mail called Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence, and I'm really excited to get into that too. But I think with my work being as fast-paced and stressful as it is, one of my favorite ones, and being like a people person to a fault sometimes in general, and like in wanting to be around people sometimes as an escape mechanism, I think one of my favorite rhythms of life is silence and solitude. And before the Y got rid of all of my stuff, I used to go to the Y after work to swim, because I mean, when you do something from the age of 3, there's something so like integral about being literally in your element, like literally in the element of water, being submerged, sensory deprivation, all of that jazz, where all you feel, see, hear, and taste is water. Yeah. And it is quite literally solitude. And it was so difficult getting back into that rhythm of solitude and like truly just being by myself with my thoughts. And I used to be even more creative than I am now, way more creative than I am now, because I had so much time during 2-3 hour practices of swimming practice where I couldn't talk, I couldn't, read, I couldn't scroll, I couldn't do anything. I only had what was right in front of me, and that was water and what was in my brain. So I was so creative with my thoughts, and I went home and I executed those things in writing and drawing and painting, and all the outlet just had to come out somewhere, because I had these 2-3 hours of just like creatively planning and all of that. And now as an adult, that looks a little bit different, because I have to like train my mind to actually have a thought, because it's so easy to just like turn off and just disassociate and get through the practice and get out, but actually using that time to reflect on my day, to talk to God, to think about how I'm feeling, and give myself the space to once again like creatively express myself in thoughts, to put myself in the posture of living rather than just going through life. I think I need solitude to do that. I'm very creative when I'm alone because there's nothing else to influence me other than the culmination of what I've seen, heard, and lived my entire life, and then who I am as a person and what God's speaking over me. Because as soon as you introduce a phone, a person, a community, a loud workspace into that, you're being influenced by all of these things. And like John Mark would say, who are you following? Because you are going to follow something and someone if you're not intentional about it. So that's why I love silence and solitude, because it's just removing everything else. That being said, I love sitting down and talking with people. I love being with other people. I love that my job is so fast-paced and lets me come across hundreds of people a day. But I think that yin and yang of having all of that and then needing the silence and solitude is really precious and special, and something that is lacking a lot in our culture of just generally overstimulation and gratification, dopamine, and all of your favorite buzzwords. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I don't think it's a practice that is practiced enough. I think that there's a good portion of the population that is afraid to be alone with their thoughts. And
it will literally feel like you're itching. Like it will literally feel itchy and so uncomfortable, and you'll want to do anything to get out of it. And that's why it needs to be practiced. But I mean, me personally, like, it's not easy, but
I think
easier.
that anymore, all silence is seen as awkward silence, like even just with yourself, you know. I think there's also people on the other end of that scale that they have just become so numb to the world around them that like they don't even realize how silent they are and like how far removed they are, because they've been in this shell by themselves for so many years, and then somebody's just like, why don't you ever have a conversation with someone? You're like, oh, I do all the time. And they're like saying hi to the cashier that you bought gas from is not, it's not a conversation. I really appreciate that. That is an area where I have to have some discipline, because as super extroverted as I am, like I have, like for genuine, like my mental health, I have to have as much social interaction as I can. But I've also come to realize, like, I enjoy so much of like living by myself, you know, so many of those aspects. And I feel like those like creative outlets that I do have, like those small creative outlets, like typically come from a place of I've been able to like sit with this, and I now know where I'm going with it. Also, as somebody who oversees swimming pools during the summer, I never really thought about it because I always played team sports, and swimming also is a team sport. But like when you're on a basketball court, when you're on a softball field, when you're running a track, you can hear your coaches the entire time. You have somebody that is next to you that is challenging you in some point, whether they're throwing you out or they're playing defense against you or they're running faster than you. Swimming is different. You may have somebody in the lane swimming next to you and they may be pushing you, but like you can't hear them. Like you don't feel like the pressure of them like running up behind you to steal the ball from you. You're alone. Like you are pushing yourself, knowing that like if I get back to the other end of this pool and I'm not ahead of that person, my coach is going to hear it. But then you also get so far away, you can't hear your coach anymore, you know? And so you really do spend so much time alone. And I had that thought after Katie Ledecky won, and they were like, what do you think about it? She was like, just swimming. Like, she's like, I'm just zoning out. And I just think, like, that's incredible, like, to have that kind of peace.
Yes.
But then I saw some of these runners in the half marathon this weekend, like the ones that are out front, the ones that are sponsored, like, they don't have anything in their ears. They're just running.
Absolutely.
Like, they're just there in their heads.
And the mind-body connection of swimming, when you're racing, I did lots of sprints. When you're racing and there's a 0.1 second difference between you and the person next to you, you are so hyper aware of them. But the people who win aren't the people who are looking over, because even if you're looking one fraction of an inch over with your it takes you're removing that, you're adding drag, you're removing that I don't even know, hydrodynamics, whatever, I'm not a physicist, but anyway, you're adding a level of resistance, so you're not going to win the race. You have to be attuned to every angle of your body. You have to be able to be aware of every muscle in your body, and it's so mindful. Like, it's such a meditative sport. Even in its like craziness. So thinking about Katie Ledecky, who is the top of her game in one of the hardest events in human history, to just be zoned out, but zoned in, you know, she's so aware of what her body's doing, and she's amazing. And like you said, with the sponsored runners, same thing. As an athlete,
it's like that muscle memory really just takes over, because it has just become so natural. Like, I don't remember, I wouldn't even begin to try to guess. She said, like, the amount of hours that she had logged in the pool just this year alone. And it was like a number out of this world. Like, something like the average number of, like, things that you won't even do in a lifetime, because the amount of money or the time that she's put in. And I'm just like, it's just muscle memory. But, like, if she had a toe spasm right now, like, she would know it. Like, she would know it maybe even before, like, the spasm hit her toe, because like, it's all in sync with one another. And
so aware.
I think that if you even just look at that in like a hyper spiritual way of looking at it, like, Jesus would go and he would preach, and then he would go by himself. I don't think it was by any means to be like, I'm done with these disciples, I need them to get away from me. It's possible. Now, he was sinless and blameless, and so it was probably very loving. But he also was just like, this is my muscle memory. Like, my muscle memory is to go spend time with the Father. So much so that, like, had it been the night before I was to die, if I knew that I was going to die, and I grab my 3 closest friends and I take them somewhere with me, I want them to be there with me.
Yes.
Jesus's muscle memory was to, like, be with the Father. And like, I think you really see that human side in Jesus of, like, he wanted his best friends to be with him, but he knew that wasn't going to solve his problem. He just wanted to know they were there.
Which is so human. Yeah.
Like, I have a friend who I don't know. I think everybody just needs a friend where you can just, like, show up and you're like, I have no words for you. I just need to express what is happening right now. We will never talk about it, and just know that it's a safe space to be able to do that. And I think that, like, we're supposed to have humans that are there for us to be able to do that. But I am somebody who needs to practice, like, being better at not having so much, like, human accountability, but, like, actually just, like, sitting with God and having those conversations and saying, like, what's, like, where am I at? You know, like, what's going on? Like, how can I be better? How can I find a more area of discipline in my life so that I can spend more time with you?
I think we think of that as so much harder, myself included, until I actually do it. And I realize you don't have to give any background. You don't have to sugarcoat. You don't even have to say everything. You don't have to worry that you're forgetting anything or forgetting a context that would make you seem, it's not that crazy that I do it. I promise. Like, you don't have to rationalize anything because it's already been said, it's been done, and it's been seen, and it's been heard, and he's seen it all.
Yeah.
And it takes the pressure off. And that's another thing. Like if you're struggling with a rhythm of life, or you struggle with the idea of a rhythm of life, look at the opposite end of the spectrum and see if you struggle with that too. Like my passion, like I had written down, like my passion is words of any kind, spoken word, written word, read word, anything. Like I love words, but words can become so meaningless if you're constantly surrounded by them. And so removing myself and putting myself in those solitude, like situations where it's just silence, it makes me choose my words more carefully when I'm speaking when I'm speaking to people.
Absolutely.
And so if you're struggling with a rhythm of rest, look at your rhythm of work and see if that's dysfunctional. Maybe you need the rest, you know?
Yeah.
So in the same way, like human accountability can be so tough sometimes. And if you're someone who's, you know, gone through it before, you know that it's not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
And so looking at the opposite, which is just like that solitude, that accountability to God, like sometimes that teaches you more about the people that you do that accountability with, at least for me, and helps me to have more grace with them in being my accountability partner and being just a human.
Yeah.
Too.
I heard or read, and it's probably TikTok, the other day, like...
Have you seen that thing where it's like, when I say I read an article?
I watched it on TikTok.
I watched it
yes.
TikTok.
It was like from the perspective of the prodigal son returning, you know, like, but like maybe like modern day. It was like, he's got his speech prepared and he's been reciting it the whole way home. And as he starts to get closer, like, we know that the father runs to him and embraces him. And, you know, I see myself in this situation being like, no, like pulling myself out of this embrace that I didn't go for, that he initiated by running towards me and saying, like, I have these words that I need to say to you. And then, like, the father is grabbing you and, like, pulling you back in for an embrace. And at Bible study on Monday night, our group leader was talking about prayer and, like, just the impact of prayer. And she was like, you know, sometimes you can just sit in prayer and not have to say a word. And, like, you have someone that is interceding for you. Like, Jesus is interceding for you. And as I wouldn't say that I have a word quota for the day, but as someone who is definitely wordier, I enjoy talking. There is that piece of sometimes I just sit before the Father and I just want to just drop everything. You know, I just want to drop everything at his feet. And so it just comes out into like this huge ramble. And I know that he receives it the same way as if I was just sit there. But there's been so many other times it's just has been so much more meaningful to just like my heart posture. Like, I know that's a very Sojourn way of saying things. But like my heart posture is like, I'm just sitting here as your daughter, as your child, as your friend, as someone who I know that your son died for, because what I have to say doesn't mean anything right now. And what I would say wouldn't even be able to, it wouldn't even matter. It wouldn't even count.
Right.
And I think it's super, super rewarding. I think that growing up in the church, the person in the room that's got that like really eloquent prayer, you know, the words start flying out of their mouth, and you've heard people say for years, oh, I just really wish I could pray like I could pray like that. You can't. Like, it just doesn't have to be out loud, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that there is just a vulnerability of like having to go to the Father, and it sometimes feels even more vulnerable because he's not there. Like, he's there. We all know that he's there, but he's not. Like, I can't sit there and like hold his hand. Like, I can't sit there and like touch his robe.
Yes.
So it feels more vulnerable because you're like, I'm sitting here in a room and there's nobody else in here with me, but I'm trying to have this intentional moment, and it's different, and I highly encourage it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that answer.
Hey, thank you for the question.
Yeah. This is great. I'm super excited about this. Maybe no edits.
No edits.
Just gonna edit that thing I said about Joe Biden's America out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, take a couple of my political remarks out.
Because
Kamala Auntie didn't actually share any recipes with me.
Mamala.
Mamala.
Rachel, thanks so much for meeting me.
You.
Thanks for the poppy and the laughs and for inviting me to your wedding.
Hey, thank you for coming to my wedding.
Such good food.
Thank you for being there. Thank you for eating the pork.
It was so good.
Thank you for wearing that awesome red dress. Shout out that one friend that got married.